It's the final round of Battlefield. We started the week with 20 teams, just to remind you, and there are 5 remaining. So let's get started. We will be having our judges coming on stage right now, and this is Naveen Chadha from Mayfield, Chris Farmer from Signalfire, Dana Grayson from Construct Capital, and Miroko from Floodgate, and Hans Tung from Notable Capital. And of course, running Battlefield will be, of course, Anthony Ha. A round of applause, everyone.
Thank you, Mike. Can you guys hear me? No? Okay. Okay, now you can hear me, right? Okay. Hello! We are here. We are here at the finals of the Startup Battlefield. Just out of curiosity, and no shame either way, but is there anyone here who has been to all 4 sessions of the top 20 Startup Battlefield companies? Anyone? I know some TechCrunch folks have, right? Yes, look at that, a hero. We don't have a prize for you this time. Maybe next year. But for those of you who haven't, just a quick recap. If you had this fella here, he's seen 20 startups presenting across 4 sessions. Those 20 startups, that was already less than 1% of the total applicants. But we have narrowed it down even further to 5 finalists. That's what you're going to be seeing today. Those finalists are going to be presenting for 6 minutes. All of the presentations include live demos, which is always a little unpredictable, a little fun. And then after the presentations, we are going to have 8 minutes of Q&A from our expert judges. That's a little longer than the regular sessions, but it's still going to go super fast. And so they have a tough job, but they're going to be helping us pick a winner. That winner will be announced this afternoon, so please come back for that. The winner gets temporary custody of the Disrupt Cup, and they get $100,000. And just to be clear, TechCrunch does not charge any fees throughout this process. We don't take any equity in the companies. And so if you have an awesome company that you think would be good for the Startup Battlefield next year, please keep an eye out and apply. And I think that's everything you need to know. So let me introduce our judges. First up, we have Naveen Chadha, managing partner at Mayfield Fund. He leads the firm and drives its cognition as a service and Gen AI cognitive plumbing focus. Under his leadership, Mayfield has raised 8 US funds and guided over 80 companies to positive outcomes. Next up, we have Chris Farmer, CEO, partner, and co-founder at Signalfire. He told me I could remove one of those titles if I wanted to, but I think he deserves all of them. Signalfire is a $2.1 billion AI-native early-stage venture firm. Previously, he was a successful entrepreneur, spearheading the turnaround of wireless-enabled SaaS company Skybits. Next up, we have Dana Grayson, co-founder and general partner at Construct Capital, an early-stage venture firm that invests in extraordinary founders building technology to transform the most foundational industries of our economy, from manufacturing to mobility. She was previously a partner at NEA. Next, we have Anne Miroko, co-founding partner at Floodgate. She is known for her inception early-stage investments that range from marketplaces to highly technical companies. She's also a lecturer in engineering at Stanford and co-director of Stanford's Mayfield Fellows Program. Last but not least, we have Hans Tung, managing partner at Notable Capital. He's invested in early-stage deals across the global digital economy. He has partnered with top founders from everywhere in e-commerce and fintech, where the US is a key end user market. So please give it up for all of our Startup Battlefield judges. And that is the end of the preamble, which means it is time to bring out our first Startup Battlefield finalist. That finalist is Gecko Materials. Presenting for Gecko Materials is founder and CEO, Capella Kirst.
My name is Capella Kirst, and I am the founder and CEO of Gecko Materials. Our disruptible technology is the next industrial Velcro, highly reusable and extremely versatile, all while saving energy, time, and money. Hello, I am the founder and CEO of Gecko Materials. My name is Capella Kirst, and this is a full bottle of wine held up by Gecko Materials. As I turn it over, it falls off under its own weight. Let's pick up some other objects, shall we? I have this nice little pomegranate. I just placed down the material. Placed down the material. Oh, decided to fold on itself. It picks up, holds. You need both sides to attach. We'll explain the slides in a second. What about this really rotten tomato? You can see how rotten it is. It holds it, falls off under its own weight. Those were all curved surfaces. Some of our customers are interested in some flat surface gripping. So cameraman, would you mind zooming in on this? You pick up this wafer. These are 4 opposed tiles of Gecko Materials, each held in shear. As I turn it off, on, you can actually see it engage and disengage. Quick and easy, disattachment. Now let's head to the slides so I can explain what you just saw. Traditionally, to attach 2 objects, you need glue, tape, or suction. Gecko Materials is none of these. It's not a glue, it's not a tape, and it's not suction. It's truly a disruptable tech. Let's see Gecko Materials in action one more time. You can attach and detach over 120,000 times this 1-inch towel supporting 15 pounds vertically. For reference, you can only do Velcro 2,000 times. We can attach for seconds, days, or even years to smooth and micro-smooth surfaces. Some of our other disruptive properties include 120 kilopascals of shear strength. Again, that's equivalent to a 1-inch towel supporting 15 pounds vertically, 6 1-inch towels pulling a car, or my pinky holding up that full bottle of wine earlier. And we're extremely versatile. We truly are the next industrial Velcro. You can use this in any barometric environment. So here in this room, in atmospheric pressure, a nitrogen box, hydrogen box, or a vacuum chamber. And yes, if you can use it in vacuum, you can use this in space. And you can reuse this over 120,000 times, like I mentioned earlier, making it a sustainable solution. There was no force needed to attach nor detach. You saw the milliseconds engage and disengage, leaving no surface residue or marring left behind. So why now? Gecko Materials was spun out of my PhD, in which I was able to unlock and patent the mass production methods and techniques. Gecko Materials holds its exclusive license and patents here on Earth, as well as in space, to the mass manufacturing. Traditionally, it took over 48 hours to make one single unit. After my invention, we are able to produce Gecko Materials in under 15 minutes for multiple units now. And we manufacture the same ultra-strong, highly reusable, zero-energy, directional dry adhesive. Let's zoom in and slow down what you're seeing. A hair on your head is 100 microns. 1/100th of a hair on your head engages with the surface and is pulled in shear to create an extremely strong force, namely the van der Waals force. You'll notice uniform loading, and more importantly, uniform disengagement and unloading. Other companies claim Gecko, but are actually octopus-inspired. So again, remember, the gecko's ability to climb up smooth vertical surfaces is hairs that pull in shear and disengage in shear. Other companies say gecko, actually octopus. You saw those micro suctions on the right-hand side of the screen. They come off one at a time. They fracture, leaving debris behind. You can't use suction in vacuum or in space. Gabby, can you go forward? So let's look at Gecko Materials in a use case. For a robot arm, you're going to put Gecko Materials on the end of the robot arm, and you're going to rate your gripper to the largest, most mass object. And anything smaller and lighter you can pick up using that same end effector. Here, we're increasing our weight, going one by one. And on the right-hand side of the screen, yes, that is another rotten tomato and an egg. Because there is no normal force, there is no fracturing, we can handle very delicate objects, even solar panels, fine glasses, semiconductor dice pieces and parts, as well as, yes, rotten tomatoes and eggs. So we are the next industrial Velcro, but we're staying very focused on our immediate go-to-market strategy, and that's threefold: pick-and-place robots, drones, and space. For pick-and-place, automotive and semiconductors; drones, public and private; space, public and private. Because of our disruptable tech and our focus on this go-to-market strategy, we've had the blessing to sell to some really cool customers: Honda, Ford, Toyota, GE, Intel, Samsung, just to name a few. We're currently on the International Space Station. We did $727,000 in revenue in 2023, and we're on track to doubling our revenue this year. We've sold and shipped product every week for the past 2 years. With our current paying customers alone, we're going to reach 75 million ARR. with 88% profit margins. Today, we're currently at 81% profit margins. We are poised with a small but mighty team that can bring Gecko Materials to the masses. I was the inventor of the metal mold, and I did whole life cycle sustainability, mass production, and scaling in my PhD. Mark Kokoski, who's my PhD advisor, is now the technical advisor for Gecko Materials, and he is also the inventor of biomimicry over 20 years ago. The rest of our team complements our extremely technical skill set. We're super excited to get Gecko Materials in your hands, so stop by our booth E1. We'd love to help you save energy, time, and money. We are currently closing a round right now, and so we would love to chat with investors. We have a small allocation for strategic investors, and we're super excited to partner with you in sustainable innovation. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Gecko Materials. Can we put it into the hands of the judges? You
Yes.
guys want to try it out?
Yes, yes. So again, you're going to just place it down over here,
Please
pick it up
don't
with your
break it.
pinky, and then turn it over to release.
All right, while you're checking it out, judges, does anyone have a question to start us off?
Yeah, why don't I start it off? So thank you very much and congratulations on such a breakthrough. So what keeps you up at night, right? You have a cool technology, you are differentiated, there's a lot of possible applications. So what are you worried about? What keeps you up at night?
Oh, what keeps them at night? Actually, I mean, I work so hard, we're really scaling so quickly. When I hit the pillow, I fall asleep, to be quite honest. I am very excited for the few hours of sleep I get at night. But what I see and what I'm excited about is having enough manpower to go to all our customers and really interface with them. And so we're increasing our sales team and our engineering here in Silicon Valley, and of course they require a decent amount of pay, so that's why we're fundraising. But just getting that right, excitable talent to really grasp Gecko Materials and then share it with the masses. So, yes, thank you for your question.
You mentioned you have a small but mighty team, and you have done a lot, obviously. How do you prioritize and develop a more efficient go-to-market motion? Who are the sort of ICP? You mentioned Ford, you mentioned Honda. Within which group within the organization? Who are the key decision makers? Can you kind of walk through that go-to-market motion for us?
Yes, of course. So we're first starting off with the automotive and the semiconductor companies is reaching out to their R&D divisions. So we integrate with the R&D divisions first, and they put it on initial prototypes, things like that, and then they'll do a line of a pilot line, as they call it, and then through that pilot line, then it will go into full production. So I was actually just at GM. I hope I can say this on stage. I was just at GM visiting in Detroit, and I met with the head of R&D and the head of integration for their robotics assembly line. And they had a pain point and problem, which I'm not gonna, say that publicly, but they were super excited. We were able to address that pain point and problem. So we're quickly going through their R&D division first. They're gonna do some prototyping, again, like the prototyping that you see here is a 3D printed part, but we're, again, raising to make this more high fidelity. And then we're moving this high fidelity to a robotic arm. And then that robotic arm will be put on the pilot line, and then that pilot line will then go through the full, and then every other manufacturing facility that they have.
I have a question with respect to the category that you're in. You said you're part of the adhesive market. And I wonder if that's the right way to really position your company, because even in comparing yourself to Velcro, I'm thinking about a fairly low margin business, comparing you with glue and tape, right? And it sounds like the use case is actually much more technical. And so one piece of feedback, it's not really a question, is maybe it is a question like, is there a better category to really consider versus something like adhesives?
That's the billion-dollar question for our soon-to-be multi-billion-dollar company. We will be a household name, Gecko. So right now, it's just getting it in people's hands to walk them through and understanding the reusability aspect, because you're extremely
But is
correct
it
in
even
that.
really a consumer company, right? Like some of the things that you're seeing here seem a little bit more enterprise and could be potentially more high margin as a result.
Yes, so yeah, we're currently at 88% profit margin. So to not cannibalize future paying customers, we will be rolling out additional backings and things like that in generations, so then we can cut costs down there. So I met with the CTO of Samsung, and they're super excited about putting it in their electronic division. But I steered the conversation during our meeting to go, okay, now that like TSMC and Intel are using it on their manufacturing line, why don't we first have that conversation, and then in the future bring it to your electronics team. But they're already starting to do testing and R&D at Samsung, and so that will integrate, again, I was like, how much can I say about this meeting too? All the NDAs are running through my head. But eventually I do want to be a household name. Hey honey, can you go to the supermarket, pick up some Gecko materials we've run out? And so yes, you can use it at home, you can attach, we can replace command strips, eventually. It's the price per unit that you're looking at. We're only actually 10 times more expensive than a command strip, but you can use this over 120,000 times. So we're fractions of pennies per use. You don't need a lot to do a lot.
That sort of gets to my question, which was, I think you kind of answered it when in the future state of where you want to go with the product, but what is the product packaging today? What do you charge these customers for? Is it rolls of this material? Is it a project? Is it come with services? What is the unit?
Great question. So we currently sell a unit, which is 11 square inches online. You can buy it with credit card. It's super easy, and we ship units. Again, it's through the educational piece of how you ship it to your customers. So we show them that you actually cut it and you want smaller. Like with this this gripper here, those are 4 1-inch tiles that, yes, we could have put 2 huge pieces on, but actually you're going to get more gripping power with individual tiles than the overall one sheet. So it's again sold in sheets to kind of encourage that cutting up in that smaller piece size. You don't need a lot to do a lot. We're trying to really make sustainability our main priority, helping customers save energy, time, and money. And then to your other question about...
do you sell services around that with your customers that you have today? Do you sell them that unit and then they have to go attach it and figure out how to use it? Or do you say, we'll guarantee the replacement of it and we'll maintain this robot for you for this additional cost?
Yeah, great question. So we just sell and ship. We also do scopes of works and engineering application hours. So we do have kind of an SOW work in which, for example, GE does that. So they have a certain amount of adhesive they buy per year and a certain amount of hours that we support them, and then a certain amount of hours that we R&D in-house in our facilities. So we do support, and so we'll interface with their engineers as they're designing, but also with this round of fundraising, what we're really focusing on is our application engineering, making these in-house. So we'll make this a high fidelity gripper, so it'll be made out of metal. We'll have CAD files and videos to show them how to put it in themselves, how to exchange it themselves, because again, we're trying to make manufacturing be more sustainable and local for all. So if they can make it themselves, we send them the Gecko materials, they can replace it themselves, they don't have to have someone come out and do it for them. So that is like the vision. So yes, we are trending. We have application engineers in which we charge like per hour, and then we do have like mini projects that we customize. But it's always going to be, okay, as soon as we get the custom down for what the adhesive needs, this is your replacement size, and we just ship you every year your replacement. Because right now what you're seeing in grippers is 3 to 6 months replacements, and we're pushing our customers 6 months to a year replacement.
When you think about the use cases, startups often win because they really focus and they find something that's very repeatable for a large amount of customers. What are the most repeatable use cases in either an industrial setting or a home setting that you see it?
Yes, so that would be automotive and the semiconductor industry. So we're working with the top semiconductor who manufactures for TSMC, Samsung, Intel, and other folks around the world actually, but they're here located in the US. And so what we're doing is we're getting on that high chain. So we can hit the robotic chain at like the 3 main levels, but we're getting at the highest one to help integration. So as Intel is building their new facilities here in the US and other folks and other semiconductor people are building here, they have this kind of new robot that is more energy efficient. We replace suction, airline, and vacuum dependencies, and that's where we're hitting, again, with that GM. It was shocking. When I went into the meeting, I was talking to the guy who was on the R&D division, and then he moved to head of the integration team. He was like, oh my gosh, yeah, we can't handle this. And I was like, oh, that is so like it is bread and butter for us. So we are already on that track and we're super excited. So that's where we're seeing the most amount of excitement is the pick and place, automotive and semiconductors. And then there's other automotive or robotics, like, I can handle fruits and vegetables. So we are working with some farmers in that sense. But what we're really seeing beachheads are those, and the
the space industry is the next beachhead. We're the next space Velcro because you can attach and detach us in space, making an ISAM in space servicing, assembly, and manufacturing more sustainable for the future of space.
All right, we are out of time, so please give it up for Gecko Materials.
Thank you.
So, gonna give the wine bottle to somebody? Just give us a second to reset the stage. Judges, do you like that? Was that cool?
Very cool.
I wanted to be a volunteer to scale the wall. You know, I thought that was the demo we were going to do.
I think we can make that happen. Let's bring them back out. Let's try it. Well, afterwards. Let's bring out our second company, Luna. Presenting for Luna is co-founder Jazz Scremby Stothart.
I'm Jazz Scremby Stothart, and I'm one of the co-founders of Luna, the world's first AI-powered health app dedicated to teens. Luna is revolutionizing how teens navigate the complexities of adolescence through our digital health and well-being companion.
This is 12-year-old me. I had low self-esteem. I didn't want to talk about puberty. I just wanted to be normal. Back then, there was little to no health and well-being information to support me throughout adolescence. In fact, I literally relied on magazines because schools didn't teach me what I needed to know. However, today the issue is very different. It's not a lack of information. It's actually misinformation overload. Today, teens are told that they can stop their periods with a shot of lime juice, tagine powder, and salt water. That they shed their skin every month on their period, and that they can lose a whopping 8 pounds in 3 hours by drinking 32 ounces of salt water. Now, obviously, none of this is true. However, these are the latest health trends surfacing on social media, misleading millions of teenagers today. Schools haven't kept up with the pace of change, and parents, no matter how cool you think you are, there's just some things teens don't want to talk to you about. Their go-to places are the internet and social media. Today, more than 10% of teen girls have a bad mental health day every single day. And more than 60% of teens spend over 4 hours on their digital devices daily. This is the problem, and we're doing something about it. Luna is an AI-powered health and well-being companion for teens to support them throughout adolescence. Everybody goes through puberty. We help them through it. Luna is a one-stop shop platform for girls and non-binary teens aged 11 to 18 years old. And we talk about things like mental health, periods, friendships, skin, and more. So how does it work? Enter demo. On Luna, teens can access content, so articles, videos, and quizzes. They can also ask an anonymous question and get an expert-backed response. And we partner with dermatologists, pediatricians, and medical experts to get the teens their responses. And since we've now had over 50,000 questions to date, we're using the expert data to feed the AI models that are helping us answer these questions. There's also a super simple emotion and period tracker, and we're now able to push back health insights to teens and push them recommended content based on how they're using the app. Now, as you can see on Luna, there's no peer-to-peer interactions, making it safe. And we've also included a very quick link for teens to ask for premium memberships to their parents, a bit like Venmo. And we've got a parent layer on top to help parents manage their teens' subscriptions, which we're now building out with content, community, and insights for them too. End demo. Back to slides. Today, we have over 100,000 downloads in 160 countries. And some Luna members have logged in every single day for the last 2 years, which is when we launched. And after just 4 weeks of using Luna, the number of teens self-reporting improvement in their body image and mental health has increased drastically. What we have done is the unthinkable. We've made puberty cool. We've created a brand. We've created a community. We've created a girlhood movement where teen girls finally feel excited and empowered to learn about their health. Now, there are 600 million teen girls globally whose needs are underserved, and this more than doubles when you consider boys, preteens, and parents too, making this a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. And yes, while there are period apps out there and mental health apps out there, they're adult-centric and they're not holistic in nature, leaving an opportunity for Luna. We're currently focused on paid subscriptions and also forming brand partnerships too, and we've currently just launched one with a major sports brand, which we're very excited to announce next week. There's a dual marketing strategy in play, so we're reaching teenagers on the channels they use and showing the value and impact to parents too, meaning we're reaching both members and payers of the product. My co-founder and I met at the University of Oxford, and today we have an incredible team of 7 with backgrounds in consumer and health. We also work with medical experts and advisors who have exited and scaled products in this space too. Now, there's one major market left to unlock, and that is the USA. And let me tell you now, there is no shortage of demand when it comes from teens telling us how much they want it to land here. So we'll be launching next year, and I'd be excited to connect with anyone wanting to know more. We have the data, we have the community, and we are already impacting millions of teenagers' lives. Now just imagine how much more we can do to combat the deepening well-being crisis that exists in teen girls today. Everybody knows how much the teen years impact who we become as adults. Everybody here could have done with a platform like Luna. So let's not just let teens survive teenhood in this digital age. Let's help them thrive. Let's give them Luna.
Thank you, Luna. Judges.
As a mother of a teenage girl, I definitely identify with some of the things that you're talking about. I would love for her to love puberty. One of the things that I was just wondering about was we've seen apps that are global in nature try to come to the United States, and that crossover is quite difficult. So things that are popular elsewhere don't become popular here, and vice versa. So number one, what gives you the confidence that you will be able to transition here? Not just the fact that teenagers want something, but like, how do you know they want Luna? And then the second question I had was, you know, how does the knowledge of Luna spread? So are you using paid advertising and acquisition mechanisms, or is it more word of mouth?
Great question. So in terms of how do we know that Luna will land here? Well, hopefully you saw a snapshot of the TikTok comments we get, messages, emails from teens asking us when it's going to land, and we've currently got a wait list of over 1,000 teenagers from different states joining this. So every time they ask for it, that's what we do. We share that link. And I think that will help inform our go-to-market strategy in terms of what states these teens are coming from. And we're also now signing up parents too, so parents we've met at TechCrunch who are also asking for this. So I think in terms of confidence of demand, those messages really speak volumes. And in terms of how we're getting the message out there, so first and foremost, community has been massive, both from the teenagers, so once you love something, they will tell their friends, but also parents. You'll know that trusted platforms and knowing it's having a positive impact means so much. So we've got referral loops going in there. Second, to your point, social media. Somehow a millennial has been able to nail TikTok, and I'm very proud of that. And we're using it in a positive way to myth bust, to showcase that you're a teen, you're not the only one thinking about this. And we've been able to do that largely organically. Our hope for next year is to start using paid ad, influencers, have an affiliate model as well. So for now, it's been community and just really understanding our audience and what they want to see on social media.
You've used this word, several times, and I also have two young teens, and another one behind it, so could be a lifelong customer here. You've talked about the trust and the security of the platform, and how do you maintain that trust? How do you maintain that community? There's also privacy laws and everything else around it, but how do you get people coming back as this is the trusted voice versus degrading into some of the TikTok-like things that we see out there?
It's a great question, and it's based, as you said, completely on trust. And we really listen to our members. So from day one, we have co-created this with teenagers. I'm sure it's no surprise to anyone here, we are not teenagers. So we don't want to sort of dictate what they want. So from day one, we've had brand ambassadors who've been co-creating this with us. In terms of the trust side of things, we do get a lot of feedback asking for new content, new features, and one of those, we've had a few people say, oh, is there a place that I can talk to my friend? Can I connect with my friend? And actually, that's one thing we have been firm on, which is actually, no, this is not a social media platform. So as you saw in the presentation, there is no peer-to-peer interaction, and that was very deliberate because there are plenty of platforms like the TikToks and Snapchats of the world where they can communicate with each other. So for us, that's been definitely a guiding principle, but then sort of more on the technology side of how we actually, keep it safe and trustworthy. Obviously, everything with our tech is super, super secure, encrypted, different databases for personal information, versus what's more publicly available, so like the question and answer section. And that's, again, a very important feature to us, to the teens as well, and also to parents. So yeah, there's a few ways.
I was early investor in Musical.ly, which was sold to ByteDance and became TikTok. So we saw how they run into growth opportunities and also issues. Mm-hmm. One of which was trying to figure out what users really want to use it for initially, how do you branch out beyond that. From the data you have seen, what are the top 3 reasons or usage that your current teenage users are using? That's the first question, and how's that applicable to American consumers? Second question is that, having gone through Musical.ly, there's COPPA, the Children Online Privacy Protection Act in the US that's heavily enforced. That's not the same in other countries. Mm-hmm. How do you plan to comply with that?
Yeah, so in answer to the first question, the top 3 things are the Ask Luna section, as I'm sure you can imagine, finding us and coming onto the platform and realizing there's a safe space that they can ask anonymous questions, and that's really important. Secondly is the tracker. So we had a daily tracker, which we used to be able to come in once a day and track how you're feeling, as you saw in the demo. We got so many requests to say, I feel different in the morning when I come back from school, can I track twice a day? So now we have them coming back in twice a day to track. And then the third one is challenges. So we are able to sort of test their knowledge and gamify it slightly through challenges and tasks within the app as well. So we have a wellbeing challenge, which is about to launch Friday, the 1st of the month, and that's another popular part. So that's to answer the first question. Second question about the legislation. That is one of the main reasons why we are yet to launch in the US. So we wanted to make sure when we launch over here, we want to do it properly, we want to be watertight on everything. And that's both from a brand and community side of things. We know you guys do everything much bigger over here than compared to the UK, but more importantly as well on the legislation side of things. So for us, obviously in the UK, we've got GDPR, we've got the Children's Code, but we know over here you obviously have all the different privacy ones, but you have COPPA guidelines as well for dealing with children and young people. So we are working with the best lawyers as well over in the UK to make sure that when we do land here, we are completely watertight on all of that.
I'm really curious. Education is somewhat subjective. How do you define truth, and how do you determine what are correct answers to something when there may be, a spectrum of medical answers to that? And are there topics that are taboo that you're not willing to go into, like sex or pregnancy or other areas like that?
Great question. So in terms of what's our guiding star or North Star, for us it's the NHS. obviously. And we basically take a medical approach to everything we talk about. If it's grounded in medicine, we're here to tell you facts and not push opinions. So we get questions like, what do I do about my body hair? We're not here to tell you to shave it, wax it, or do nothing. We'll tell you the options. So everything is grounded in medicine, created with medical experts, peer-reviewed twice. So that was your first question. And in terms of taboo topics, we cover everything that can be considered taboo, because in truth, if you're a digital native, which teens today are, you can get access to any information anywhere. And we would much prefer them to come to a place where it's created by medics and experts and grounded in medicine. But what we do is we don't take a push approach, we take a pull approach. So if someone does search for something, say potentially taboo, and also who are we to define what's taboo, we will give them that information because we believe it's better for them to get it from a place that is trusted. But we don't push that content onto them. So if they're innocently like scrolling and perhaps they've had no ideas of what this taboo topic could be, we won't show it to them. And it's something we thought really carefully about, and perhaps that will change over time. But for now, with the parents we're working with the teens we're working with, we feel this stance works. Those people who want that information are getting it, and those who don't know anything about it aren't.
Naveen, final quick question?
Do we have time?
We can squeeze one in.
Okay, great.
I'm in charge here. Let's do it.
Awesome. So you guys talked about your downloads, and eventually you want to have a subscription model. But in these kinds of plays, what's your North Star you're trying to establish for engagement? You talked about virality, distribution. Mm-hmm. So what are your guys' thoughts on the engagement front for the users?
Yeah, so engagement North Stars, we look at things like weekly active users, monthly active users, time on app, so number of sessions, average of session length. So they're the ones that we're really focused on. Monthly active users for us can range anywhere between sort of 30% to 50%. Like I mentioned, the Wellbeing Challenge, that is a month-long challenge. There's new tasks sort of every week, and that's something that really drives engagement. So we're always looking to try and improve that and increase that, because we have the data to show that actually time on Luna is beneficial. So actually getting them to use more of Luna is definitely not a bad thing. It's all educational and hopefully at the same time fun and enjoyable for them as well.
And how are you doing on that front? On engagement, you talked about the MAUs. What about like minutes of use? How do you scale that on a daily basis?
Quickly.
I'll be quick. So quick one on that is average 6 times a week. And how we're going to scale that is we're really looking to, obviously, the big players of the world, so the Duolingos really. We have the tracking streak, but there's definitely more things we can do around rewarding points, incentivizing positive behaviors on the platform.
Got it.
All right, give it up for Luna. Let's bring out our next startup. That startup is Maab Lab. Presenting from Maab Lab is co-founder and CEO Vienna Sparks.
I'm Vienna Sparks, the CEO of Maab Lab. We test for laced drugs and spiked drinks to ensure that no one overdoses ever again.
It's a lot more bass. I walked into class on a Monday morning, looking for my lab partner's familiar face. Cassie was always there when we were starting our new week's chemistry experiments, but this week she wasn't there. When I inquired about why, I was hit with the reality that changed my life forever. That she had overdosed while taking laced recreational drugs. And the thing is, Cassie never could have known those drugs were laced to begin with. However, Cassie's story is not unique. There are more than 109,000 deaths that occur every single year from laced drugs and drinks, and more than 5.2 million injuries, equating to a $12.4 billion cost to US medical system. However, current market solutions only test for just fentanyl, which is a fraction of the leading lacing agents contributing to this 109,000 number. So here at Maab Lab, this doesn't have to be the case. Here at Maab Lab, we built a 5-in-1 rapid test capable of detecting these 5 substances with unparalleled accuracy in a matter of seconds. Our solution is patent defensible and is able to give users results with the similar technology to COVID-19,
which is familiar control and test line. Additionally, our solution does not require FDA regulation as a Class 1 exempt medical device. Our solution is also affordable and accessible, coming in at just a $5 price point with a 70% profit margin that we only expect to increase with economies of scale. So now, let's take a closer look at how the end user would use our test strip. So imagine my co-founder Sky here is on his way to a music festival. Sky loves having a good time, but Sky wants to make sure he can have a good time safely. So when Sky's friend hands him something, he's not sure what's in it. So Sky wants to make sure that could not potentially be fatal. So all Sky needs to do is take around 5 to 8 grains of the given substance, place it into the water-based buffer solution, then take out a Maab Lab test strip and dip it into the water-based solution. Submerging for 3 to 5 seconds, he's able to remove the test strip, and then the results will start to show almost instantaneously. Although we say wait the full 2 to 3 minutes as indicated on our test strip packaging, as the results grow darker with time. So let's circle back at the end of our presentation to see if Sky can party safely and enjoy his time at Coachella. Now, let's take a closer look at the competitive landscape. Our biggest competitor is a company called BTNX. They sell about 40 million test strips annually, equating about 80 million in revenue. However, they only test for just fentanyl, leaving those other lacing agents undetected. Additionally, they lack accuracy in their results, which is very problematic when we're dealing with things that could be fatal in as little as 2 to 3 grains of a given substance. Our other indirect competitors are companies like Confirmed Biosciences, which are post-exposure tests, meaning you ingest the substance and then pee in a cup afterwards, which is not great at preventing that overdose to begin with. And then we have competitors like lab proficiency testing, where you send a sample off to a remote laboratory, wait 2 to 3 weeks, and often pay upwards of $500, which is not affordable or accessible to the average consumer. So here at Maab Lab, we're going B2B, selling to university health services, harm reduction centers, and local and state governments. We chose these 3 B2B partners as they have existing distribution pipelines in place for fentanyl test strips, making the adaptation for our test strip very easy. We also have over 100K in pre-revenue sales with these different partnerships, some of them shown here on the screen. To scale, we really plan to go B2B2C to CVS Walgreens, as well as bars and restaurants and music festivals. So following on that Coachella strand, we want to make sure that people like Sky can party safe with our potential partnership at Coachella in 2025 that we're currently discussing. Additionally, we have other B2B targets in mind, like law enforcement, fire departments, as well as veteran agencies, all of which have a vested interest in keeping the communities that they serve safe. The market size for drug and drink testing is frankly huge, with our initial beachhead being over $3 billion, detailing just drug consumers in the United States who are already using fentanyl test strips and alcohol consumers who have had their drinks spiked. I know I wouldn't want my friends or daughter to be at risk of having their drink spiked. So, why now for Maab Lab? First and foremost, we've seen a huge legalization of drugs in the United States, with the decriminalization of substances like marijuana in California, as well as New York. For example, California has actually been following this legislative change right here, where they've been mandating fentanyl test strips to be offered at universities, as well as bars and other concert venues. And second, is there's been a big injection of public funding, with $26 billion being allocated to fund harm reduction solutions like ours. And lastly, so many people know someone like my lab partner named Cassie, with 40% of Americans having a personal tie to someone who has passed away from a drug overdose. Right now, we're raising our seed round for $2.5 million, which will take us all the way through our market launch and also help us convert those existing LOIs to paying customers. It will also help us launch our AI ML data integration, which allows us to do outbreak tracking and predictive modeling for new lacing agents popping up that we're not currently testing for. Additionally, later down the line, we plan to scale on that B2B2C front, as well as launch a secondary test on the market, which will be primarily targeting allergens, which is all made possible with our existing intellectual property. This is the wonderful team that makes it all possible. Myself and Sky are both co-founders, both with previous startup experiences coming out of institutions like Columbia and Harvard. We're joined on the scientific side by 4 postdocs who are leading their industries in structural biology as well as immunology, and joined by our marketing lead, Carly, who's pretty famous on TikTok, so helping us destigmatize testing once and for all. So now, let's see if Sky can party safe. As you can see here, there's only one line on the test strip, indicating that the test ran successfully, but there's no deadly substances like fentanyl or xylazine present in the strip. So Sky, go ahead and enjoy Coachella. So together, let's end all overdoses from laced drugs. That way nobody has to lose a friend like we lost Cassie, and no one has to go to school worried that their lab partner's not going to be there, or no one has to send their daughter off to college worrying that her drink is going to be spiked. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maab Lab. Judges.
I'm really curious a major part of this is the behavior change of knowing to test in advance. Like, how do you see that and encourage the behavior change of people having the strips with them at the right time? And what's the impetus for them to test a drink or whatever it may be?
Yeah, so one thing we're really going for is a similar strategy to drunk driving. So if you have a friend on a night out, you leave your drink, go to the bathroom, you want your friend to hold you accountable. So they have a test strip. It's pretty easy to carry in the back of your phone pocket, in your wallet. But another goal for us is getting the different accessible places. So different bars, restaurants, different universities, frat parties that have test strips on hand. It could be a bucket, it could be a vending machine, anywhere you can pick up a test strip pretty easily and then test your drink.
We've already seen these behavioral changes starting to take place with people actively picking up test strips and countertops on bars, or as well as going to parties, and they've already just been able to quickly grab and go. And we've seen the market increasing year over year, with 40 million being sold this year and then substantially less in the years prior. So we're seeing that increase and that shift in behavioral change as well.
At a $5 price point, how does it compare to like a fentanyl test strip?
Yep, so the current fentanyl test strips cost anywhere between $1.50 all the way to $7 per test. So our thinking is the closest substitute for them is to create 5 different test strips, one for each of the 5 things we're testing for. So it'd be about $5 to that $25 price point. So
but it still feels like psychologically, going back to Chris's point on the behavior change, at $5, that's quite a premium. And so how do you sort of get people on board with this behavior change?
Yeah, so a couple of things there. Specifically for university health students, we recognize that $5 is a substantial amount. They'll be able to get it for free from the University Health Service, as well as local members of the community going to local nonprofits that we're currently partnering with, like the New York City Office of Nightlife. They'll be able to pick up a test strip there as well for free. And then in terms of the behavioral change, we're really looking to partner with different educational programs. So we're running a couple of different pilots with universities, as well as those local nonprofits that are actively already educating people about test strips, about Narcan and these other harm reduction tools that are coming up. And we could plan to continue to help increase that education both through social media and really building a brand around Maab Lab, which we've already seen a lot of success doing with actually partnering with different fraternities who are actively promoting these on their college campuses and things like that.
So I've heard of the fentanyl test strips, and we've all certainly heard of the rise of deaths and overdoses around them. But so there must be like a lot of attention on this problem. And you mentioned some competitors, but how hard is it really to replicate what you're doing? Certainly there are tests for all of these substances, not just fentanyl, out there already. So how hard is it really to put it all in one stick?
There's only a test for a few of them, namely fentanyl and xylazine. They do lack that substantial amount of accuracy. Currently on the market, it's between 80 to 95%. Our early trials are between 99.5 to 99.9% accuracy, which is substantially improvement of care there, and same can be said for our limit of detections. So we have improvement that way. And then in terms of plating multiple tests or testing for multiple substances on a test strip, that's what our IP is on. So we'll be able to test, and it's really difficult to replicate given the barriers of cross-reactivity, which is the barrier we were able to overcome.
And today's market, I think on purpose, you guys are going B2B and then B2B to C. The current market, how is it split between those two segments from your competitors? So if somebody is doing like 80 million as you showed, how much do they get from each segment?
Yeah, so our competitors have primarily been relying on D2C sales, where people will be coming to purchase them in bulk and then selling them to these harm reduction centers. But that's led to a really fragmented market, also a lack of reliability due to those use cases of these tests not being super accurate. So people are really looking for a more comprehensive solution that's also more accurate, which has been a big opportunity for us to really establish those recurring partnerships and generate recurring revenue through those different B2B partnerships that we're currently partnering with.
And to Anne's follow-up question, how low can you get the cost of this, the cost of goods, right? Like, is there scaling issues that you don't have it? Where can this go?
Yeah, so we're coming in at about 80 cents for the CDMO component currently. We can get that as low as 40% into 2026 is what we're anticipating, which would bring our COGS down substantially and up to around 80 to 85%.
But where could you price it then? Because your cost of distribution is different than building a D2C brand.
Yeah, we could
so
definitely...
Do you need to do it at $5? Why isn't, if you want mass market, right? Why can't it be lower?
Yeah, it could definitely be lower. Starting with the $5 price point initially, after doing some price testing with the different B2B partners. So the question we asked is, what would you pay for it? What's an expensive price? And what's a price that's so expensive that you wouldn't pay for it? After doing that testing, $5 seemed to be a good point for the B2B market. Something we are considering for the retail market or for the D2C market is having a sort of wholesale price. So it could be as low as $3, $2 even, given that our COGS is about 80 cents for the test strip itself and an additional for the membrane pad.
With the sort of, if we're phase one go to market, Obviously, it's a huge problem, and obviously, we're sorry about your lab partner's personal situation. What are some of the 2 or 3 objections you hear from people not be willing to sign an LOI with you? Is that cost, like some of the other judges have asked you, or is there something else?
Yep, so there's 2 categories of the B2B partners I sort of describe as. Number 1, the people who already give out fentanyl test strips. It's pretty easy for us because the cost of friction to switching over to a very similar use case is pretty low, so they understand the concept. The bit of a harder sell is the people who don't give out the fentanyl test strips already. So for them, we describe as more of an insurance play. If you're in university, for example, if it's a solution as cheap as $3 price point to the $5 price point, might as well have a few fentanyl test strips or some of our test strips in place to avoid negative press in the media from the friends, family members of that person who overdosed on campus. So having our solutions in place to prevent against that negative backlash.
Even at $1.50, it was your competing product that only tests fentanyl. There's still a lot of people who don't want to do it. What could get them to change their mind?
Yep. It's primarily been due to the rise of overdoses. We're seeing more people growing aware. We've kind of seen a similar analogy to like the condoms in 1980s, where people were very opposed to using it at first, thinking that it was either going to encourage sex or what is this new thing that I'm not used to. Then we saw a lot of sort of behavioral change, and it's kind of the norm now, more or less. So we're looking to almost ride the wave of the same behavioral change we're seeing currently. People are actively carrying Narcan in cities like San Francisco and New York, as well as Chicago. People are already starting to use fentanyl test strips and picking them up at their local CVSs in cities like New York as well. So we're really looking to help facilitate that behavioral change as well through those different components of the educational partnerships that we're working on, as well as leveraging social media. We've already seen a big success on the college front with the social media, and we're continuing to really play that out as well.
Another thing is that we mentioned before, states like California are now requiring different state-run universities, community colleges, bars and nightclubs to have test strips in place. So if they don't have it already, they will soon.
Yeah, and I think just seeing that behavioral change as well, something we've noticed is we're currently negotiating with Coachella and a couple other music festivals. We anticipate having their test strips at their facilities as well. So we're seeing that if these bigger organizations are actively promoting this, we've seen the demand is there as well.
Your condom analogy makes a lot of sense. It definitely was the issue initially. Yep.
I'm really curious, in a college setting, there could be at a fraternity party even thousands of drinks. So, is it expected that you test every drink as you're going, or are there rules and examples of best practices of like, hey, this was a high-risk situation because I went to the bathroom or whatever it is? Like, how do you think about maximizing the sort of return on the
It's been a long time since we've been in a frat party.
100%.
Thousands of drinks for Chris.
Yeah, so what we've noticed at college parties is people either, if they walk away from their drink or someone hands them something who they don't know, being able to test, or if someone hands them a drug, like in Sky's example at Coachella, someone hands him something, he's not sure what's in it, he wants to make sure he's being safe, there's another solution there. We've noticed that people are actively encouraging their friends to test in front of them, or testing just because they don't want to see their friends overdose. I went to school at Columbia, and there was several people just in my grade that ended up in the hospital after like our big music festivals that we have on school, just because people were taking stuff. And I think a big part of that was being able to quickly encourage their friends to test, as we'd rather not have to go get you from the ER. And there's been a big social shift where it's almost seen as cool to test, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna take my car home because I've had a few drinks. It's no, take the Uber home, be safe. We value you as a friend, and we've seen that same thing. So going back to your example, people are actively testing their drinks if they step away from it, and we're also facilitating a few examples of that. If you step away from your drink, here, have a keychain quickly to be able to take out a test strip, test your drink, go to the bathroom, same thing.
Or if there's like a big punch bowl, for example,
yeah,
but test your fin, see if there's anything in that to begin with.
All right, give it up for Maab Lab.
Thank you.
I think we got to bring a few things out for our next company, so bear with us. Mysterious chair. All right, let's bring out our fourth Startup Battlefield finalist. That company is Salva Health. Presenting for Salva Health is founder and CEO Valentina Agudelo.
My name is Valentina Agudelo. I am the CEO of Salva Health. Our first product, Julieta, is an AI-powered device that provides affordable and accessible early detection of breast cancer, especially for women in underserved communities.
No? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Valentina, founder and CEO of Salva Health. We're on a mission to save lives through early disease detection. Our first product is a portable and powered by AI screening device for breast cancer, specifically designed for underserved populations. By the way, the shirtless man beside me is intended to be there. No need to call security. Let's go to the demo for a minute. While I present, my partner Andres will be running a full screening for breast anomalies on our volunteer. We will come back to them at the end. Now let's go back to the slides. Breast cancer is the leading cause of death by cancer amongst women worldwide. And this is even more alarming in developing countries. Globally, over 70% of breast cancer-related deaths occur in developing countries due to late diagnostics that happens in up to 60% of cases. And unfortunately, this causes the survival rate to drop from 90% to 30%. Early detection saves lives, yet in many regions, access to screening exams is a luxury due to their high costs, requirements of specialized infrastructure and personnel, and even for women that do have physical access, the pain, the discomfort, and the general fear that they endure make it impossible for them to get regular screenings. In Colombia, for example, less than 5% of women undergo regular preventive screenings. And that is where our puzzle at Salva began. If women are not able to reach the exams, then the exams must reach the women. And it is with this objective in mind that we have developed the product Julieta, a portable and painless screening exam that allows us to offer any woman, anywhere, a chance of a timely diagnosis. Our device is able to detect healthy and unhealthy tissue, so we can identify the women that are at risk of breast cancer and have them prioritized for a proper diagnosis and treatment. Julieta is a breakthrough in accessibility. It eliminates all current access barriers by offering a radiation-free and painless screening that can be performed anywhere. It is a non-invasive and highly portable device that doesn't require specialized operators because it is powered by AI, and that can run a full screening with results in under 5 minutes, which makes it ideal for rural clinics and community healthcare centers. And it is also cost-effective to produce, which guarantees its affordability and profitability. Over the past 5 years, we've partnered with Sura, one of the largest insurance companies in Latin America, to develop Julieta. We've screened over 2,300 women in 11 different healthcare centers in 4 cities, and we have achieved an impressive 82% accuracy, which is comparable to traditional screening exams. Our team is our strongest asset. Salva Health is composed of 12 experts amongst professionals in AI, hardware, software, and business development, as well as a high-level advisory board and allies. Each member contributes specialized knowledge for Julieta's development, from product design to regulatory compliance. We have already filed for patents on our device, and we're waiting for a regulatory approval in Colombia so we can pilot launch in Colombia and Mexico in early 2025. Additionally, we're already working towards FDA approval, which will expand our borders into broader markets, including developed countries, that can benefit from offering a more comfortable solution at a fraction of the current cost. However, to fully launch, we need funding to grow our operations team, finish filing on the legal and regulatory processes, and expand production. This will allow us to scale quickly across Latin America and beyond. With our Colombian regulation alone, we will expand to 6 markets with a market size of 100 million women. Combined with FDA, we're looking at 17 countries with over 1 billion women to screen. That's where Julieta's impact comes in. Our business model is designed for scalability. We operate a hardware-as-a-service model, primarily working with insurance companies. This allows us to distribute our devices to healthcare providers without the burden of acquisition costs. We then charge the insurance company per screening, remaining in control of our devices to guarantee their quality and continuous improvement of our algorithms. This model not only makes breast screening affordable, but also guarantees that Julieta remains accessible for women that need it the most. At Salva, we created Julieta because we believe that all women deserve the chance to start the battle against breast cancer on time and with dignity. The time is now for innovation in early detection. Healthcare systems worldwide are shifting towards more effective and scalable solutions, and Julieta fits perfectly within this trend. Now let's go back to the shirtless man. Let's switch to the demo. While I was presenting, Julieta was able to run a full screening on our volunteer, including validating for electrode connectivity and successful data transfer. It then uploaded that data to our AI where it was interpreted, and the process finalized with a screening result that has already been securely stored in the patient's profile. For the time being, congratulations. You present no significant risk of breast cancer and are clear to go home. We look forward to your next visit in 6 to 12 months. Now let's go back to the slides. Julieta is an opportunity to revolutionize breast cancer detection. It is not just a device. It is a lifeline, a solution to a global problem backed by a rigorous team and a clear path to scale. Join us so we can give all women and men the chance to win the battle against breast cancer. Thank you.
Thank you, Salva Health. Judges.
Hello. I'm just curious, relative to a traditional mammogram, what are sort of the false positive and false negative rates, and how do you think that you would distribute it? Is it really through primary care physicians, or is it through clinics or breast cancer centers? Like, what are you envisioning?
Right, so in terms of accuracy, we are at 82% sensitivity, 84% specificity. Those are the false negatives and false positives. That is comparable to a traditional screening exam that is between 80% and 90% accuracy overall. In terms of distribution, Julieta is thought as an opportunity for all women. So what we want to do is massify screening alternatives. For Colombia and most of Latin America, the alternative is to partner with insurance companies that agglomerate most of the patients available. So our strategy is to distribute through them so that we can expand through their network so that we can reach most patients.
Through them to the doctor.
Through the insurance companies to distribute the devices to the healthcare systems that they contract with, correct? And then we don't have to charge the healthcare centers per screening or per device. It's actually the insurance company that is going to take care of that. However, we do know that different countries have different healthcare systems and they behave differently. So our business model is intended to be adaptable to those countries. In that sense, we are also thinking of offering the devices directly to the healthcare providers, to the pharmacies, to other alternatives, including out-of-pockets for patients to pay for their screenings, which is why the cost of our screening is actually very, very low so that people can afford it themselves. Additionally, we're also working on a second version of our device. So this is the institutional version, the one that we're launching today, but we're also working on a personal version that can actually be bought by patients and used at home as well.
So we have invested in a lot of diagnostic companies, but more centered on the US. I think I like your strategy that you want to go through the payers because they already have the networks. But how do you get the reimbursement code from them, and what ROI are you showing to them? Because they want people not to essentially go on to have this problem and pay for it. So how have you thought about it? And then I have a follow-up question. So how do you get the code, and what's the ROI for them?
Perfect. That's a great question, actually. So we started this model with insurance companies because we partnered with an insurance company in Latin America to develop the entire research. That's how we got to know the system across Latin America, and we realized that with in the case of Colombia, for example, 8 of the largest insurance cover 80% of the population. So the strategy is to go through them. The disbursement is directly through the companies. Again, the strategy was designed with them. The ROI for an insurance company comes in the reduction of screening using a mammogram. So mammograms should be diagnostic tools. They shouldn't be for massive screening. What we are providing the insurance companies is an alternative so that they can massify screening to identify the women that actually need a mammogram for diagnosis, and then to use the actually expensive screening on the women that actually need it. So for example, if a standard Julieta test costs about $20 for an insurance company, a mammogram costs them $100. That means that if we screen the entire population of an insurance company with Julieta, the 20% that we identify as at risk, which is like the standard, would then take a mammogram. It would cost them $100. We're still looking at a cost efficiency for the insurance company of about 66%. And that is just if we do 1 mammogram and 1 Julieta. If we do 2 Julietas per mammogram, this cost reduction for them is still at 44%, which is where the cost efficiency is significant.
And what cost do you need to be for this to be pervasive? Like
so
the countries
the main
you're in?
costs?
Yeah, no, for the hardware and your device.
Right, so the cost of one device of production is about $300, And then per screening, we have some disposable components that are about $1.60. And then we have like the operational costs. However, we have already optimized our operations so that we can monitor the devices remotely, and the devices themselves have systems that can detect errors, which means that our efforts humanly are reduced.
I'm curious what what the breakthrough was that enabled you to do this at a much lower cost, and how you think about the defensibility of that.
Right. So in terms of defensibility, first of all, it's a patent that we have on our device, and copyrights, the design, the industrial design, it's all protected. The revolutionary device or the concept is that we are not doing diagnostics. We are identify the women that have risk of breast cancer. Diagnostic will continue to be used with traditional exams. Our advantage here is that we understand underserved populations. We design the device so that it can be used in extremely rural conditions. It doesn't require internet connectivity the entire time. With one charge, we can do up to 1,000 screenings at once. And because we don't expose women to radiation, we can actually increment the population that can be screened with it. So we can screen women 18 plus throughout their lives and with a higher frequency. There is a big component here, and it is that big players, for example, are more focused on improving the accuracy of diagnostic exams and then focusing on treatment as well. This is an underserved population because it is a market that not many have explored. And in terms of smaller players, the data that we need to actually train a new device is extremely specific. And of course, this is a market that is very regulated. So having a strategic partner like the insurance company has been a key part of our development so that we can guarantee that Julieta can actually be, well, first of all, trained and then compared to a screening exam traditionally as well.
You mentioned that access to existing methods is an issue. By going through insurance company, but it sounds like the place where the tests take place is still in hospitals and clinics and so forth. How has the access issue been improved as a result of going through insurance companies?
I'm sorry,
access of treatment or access of tests.
Right, so there's, if I understood your question correctly, this is about first massifying the screenings where it's not available, and then after that, when we prioritize the women, then it will be the insurer or the healthcare provider that will actually get them on the patient journey for diagnostics and treatments. The benefit here is that because of Julieta's conditions, it is very portable and it can actually operate in lower resource healthcare centers. Was that the question?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how by going through insurance company is still get more women access to your device.
Right, so the insurance companies have coverage in many different type of healthcare centers. Some healthcare centers don't have the infrastructure or the resources to have a mammogram, and because breast cancer is one of the prioritized diseases by the World Health Organization, insurance companies are still incentivized to provide screening alternatives for them. So this is an opportunity for both healthcare providers and insurers to be able to use at least an identification system for women that actually need a mammogram, which means that we can distribute our device to the healthcare centers that don't have the actual infrastructure right now, and then prioritize the women from there.
Are you seeing that in Colombia right now? How is that happening?
Yeah, so in Colombia, for example, that's exactly what is happening. We have, through the insurance company, experienced distribution to healthcare centers that don't have ultrasounds or mammograms available. And what we do with Julieta is we give them an alternative, so they screen their population with that, and then when we identify the patients that are at risk, the insurance company will cover the expenses so that they can get a proper mammogram.
Can you share like any stats on your scale at this point in Colombia?
Of our scale?
Yeah.
So right now, we are still waiting on regulatory approval. Last week, we got approved for medical device manufacturing, which is the first step of a two-step validation for commercialization. We have screened over 2,300 women in total in 11 different healthcare centers in actually 4 different cities, which has allowed us to validate the distribution and logistics of actually having the devices work. And we are pilot launching with 2 different companies, so the insurance company that we work with and a healthcare center group in Mexico in early 2025. The way that we can do that is that through the INVIMA, which is the FDA equivalent in Colombia, this entity is actually a regional recognized authority, which means that Other sanitary registrations in Latin America, actually, recognize the INVIMA's processes of validating our efficiency, security, and quality, and they allow us to penetrate their markets quicker. So with our INVIMA approval, we can actually enter most of Latin American markets immediately, which is how we're going to get traction next year.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, please give it up for Salva Health. All right, there is one final startup in the Startup Battlefield Finals. Yeah, we're good to go? Okay, excellent. So let's bring out our final Startup Battlefield finalist, Stitch 3D. Presenting for Stitch 3D is founder and CEO, Clark Yuan.
Hi, my name is Clark Yuan, and I'm the founder and CEO of Stitch 3D. We're building a cloud-native platform to host, view, and analyze 3D point cloud data from anywhere with ease.
Hello everyone, my name is Clark, and I am the founder and CEO of Stitch 3D. For the last 2 years, my team and I have been building a cloud-native platform that makes it possible for anyone to view and share 3D data right in the cloud. But first, let me tell you a quick story. So 10 years ago, when I was deployed to Afghanistan as an Army intelligence officer, we were using this really cool technology called LiDAR for 3D laser mapping. Now, LiDAR data would give us great information about things like the slope of a mountainside road or the crater volumetrics from a roadside bomb. Only there was a huge problem, and that problem was data accessibility. You see, the way that we were sharing LiDAR data in Afghanistan was literally by sending out runners with backpacks of hard drives just to get the data to that one analyst who had the magical LiDAR software downloaded to their computer. And then only that analyst would be able to see the 3D files. I'd end up looking at just a screenshot on a PowerPoint. So there was always this friction in terms of working with 3D files, and this was not unique to the military. Here's Erlich Bachman from the 2014 Disrupt putting it nicely.
It's 132 gigabytes uncompressed, and it's a 3D video file.
3D file? Yes. Are you kidding me? God damn it. Can we handle this? I guess we'll find out.
Now, all Silicon Valley jokes aside, that was 10 years ago, yet people today are still shipping hard drives when it comes to sharing 3D files. And this is because 3D data is complex. Not only are we talking about file sizes that can range from a few megabytes to a terabyte or more, but there are also a lot of different types of point cloud formats out there, so interoperability is a real pain. And by the way, your Google Drives and Dropboxes of the world can't view any of these files. So it's become fairly clear that even though LiDAR hardware is now more accessible than ever, a broken digital infrastructure is keeping all this value locked up. The non-engineers of the world simply can't view 3D files right now. So we believe pretty strongly that if this industry is to take off, 3D data processing has to go to the cloud, and the US military is investing behind this next big revolution. The Air Force has awarded Stitch 3D 6 R&D contracts worth $1.8 million to go re-engineer cloud architecture and make 3D data universal. Not just for the military, but for industry at large. Let me show you what we built. All right, so what you're seeing here is the core Stitch 3D platform, and what we've done is we've re-engineered the backend so the upload pipeline can handle point cloud files of any type or size. And we've hidden all this complexity behind a very familiar UI, because at the end of the day, we want the non-engineers to come on here and be able to use the platform, so you can go to your shared folders and see who shared a file with you. Now, unlike a Dropbox, where you can't actually view the 3D files, here we can go right to a 13 megabyte file and open it up, or what I'm going to show you is this 39 gigabyte file of Lahaina. And we're streaming this right into the browser. Now, Lahaina is a unique data set because for those of you who remember, Lahaina was completely burned to the ground after the wildfires on Maui last year. So the government is in the recovery efforts, and they requested LiDAR data to help with the analysis. So the first thing you can do with LiDAR is that it's geo-referenced. So you can actually map it to where it is in the world. And we can go to the settings here and change up the navigation controls for easier maneuverability. We can also see things like the terrain elevation, right? So if we want to see the slope of the terrain, we can do that. What's really cool, though, is you can actually classify objects in 3D. So the government, for example, if they want to see how many structures are still standing, That's it. It looks like this community was protected, but everything else was completely burned to the ground. So if we turn on the unclassified data here, this is everything that's been burned to the ground, which is really sad. They've done a good job of removing the debris, but now they're in the process of analyzing the amount of data or the amount of material that needs to come onto the island for the reconstruction efforts. So one thing we can do to help them with that effort is do things like stockpile analysis. And this is a really cool 3D feature that we initially built for the Air Force to analyze bomb craters. But it's a small island, so there's not a lot of real estate, so they need to track everything that's coming on the island. So here we can go to a stockpile volume and hit calculate. And once the analysis has been completed, you can simply share that data out using just an email or a public URL. You no longer have to ship hard drives. And for those who are curious, there is a dark mode. So as you can see from that demo, LiDAR data is not just a military application. Far from it. For example, there's Ryan, who's out there with his LiDAR, or iPhone LiDAR, mapping traffic accidents for police investigations. And there's Daniel, who's taking a LiDAR drone to map golf courses for EA Games. Or Brian, who's doing 3D terrestrial laser scanning to draw buildings up for large renovation projects. All these small businesses had previously struggled to share 3D data with their clients, just like I experienced in the military, but with Stitch 3D, they can simply share a URL over text or email. And there are a lot of these small businesses out there. And we believe that these are the folks that are going to help usher in the next $100 billion market, which is the 3D data market. So we're building our product first to serve the SMB segment of this market because we believe that they are the bellwethers. Already, we're generating $1,800 of MRR, and we have 0% churn, and our customer base is growing at a 25% clip month over month right now. And there will be a time when we have to build vertical integration to tools and plugins, but when that time comes, we will have a strong recurring base of revenue to operate from. And one more thing. Today, I'm so excited to be able to launch our newest product right here at TechCrunch, which is the Stitch 3D iPhone app. It's available for iPhone and iPad Pros. So as you're seeing here, I'm basically just scanning the TechCrunch stage, and then I was able to save this data and share it with my friends, which is pretty cool. So for those in the audience who are maybe just 3D curious, you can go ahead and download the app and try it out for yourself today. We built all this with a very small team of engineers and with only $700,000 of pre-seed funding. So if you're excited about a future that's 3D, come join us on our journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Stitch 3D judges.
You described a lot of end markets there, and I could see, so you're basically making LiDAR accessible, which I think, especially with the advent of LiDAR imagery kind of becoming more ubiquitous, is a really good goal. But with lots of opportunity, military, et cetera, and it sounds like you've gotten a foothold with some R&D contracts in that space. But how do you think about the other markets and which you would go to first, second, third? Do you need to have vertical focus?
So I think we were pretty strategic in terms of saying we want to attack the SMB market first because, quite frankly, we don't really know where the most traction is going to come from in terms of a vertical use case. So we're casting a wide net. The SMBs are the surveyors out there. They're getting hired by the construction companies, by forestry companies, by utility companies, oil and gas, and we can then start to pick and choose which industries we really want to attack with vertical features. The important thing here is that nobody can really share 3D data right now, so that problem is pretty ubiquitous. So we're solving for that problem first, and then as more data starts to come in, we talk to more of our users, we can then really be smart about which vertical features we want to build, and it's always a trade-off with time and money.
Are you going beyond LiDAR then? It looks like with your iPhone app, you're using maybe nerfs or something else. Are you considering going beyond these different types of ways of visualizing a 3D environment?
So not right now. And the app you saw is it's just a point cloud capture. There's no AI imaging there, so there's no Gaussian splatting, there's no nerfs. It's just a pure point cloud. Okay. And the reason why we decided to do that is because when you're talking about AI imaging, a lot of times you lose some of the accuracy that you would get with a point cloud. And our core market base are the surveyors and engineers, and accuracy for them matters a lot more than a high quality picture that you get from a nerf or a Gaussian splat. So I think for right now, we want to stay focused on making point clouds more accessible. Down the road, we can already view meshes on our platform, but I think we want to build out the tools a little bit more for point clouds and really kind of capture that market before we attack the meshes.
Okay.
I understand your focus of casting a wide net, but what's your intuition? Is there a segment in the SME which is dying for this kind of a solution, right? Like they will jump up on the ceiling and say like, hey, I was looking for this, I'm ready. Otherwise, it's very expensive to go after the SME market, especially with the numbers you were showing, right? Like, so are you getting any early signals or still you're trying to figure it out?
I love that question. So yes, there is definitely early signal in the market, and that signal for us is coming from drone surveyors. There's an enabling platform right now with drones becoming more accessible, whereas surveyors before, if they wanted to go survey a large mountainous area, it would take them weeks because they would have to climb the mountain, set up their equipment. It's a very hard day's work. Now they can put the LiDAR platform or LiDAR equipment on the drone platform, fly it in a few hours, get a high quality data like you saw with Lahaina, and that data is game changing, right? You can cover a really large area using just a 1 or 2 person team. And so they are screaming for this data because they can't easily share a 39 gigabyte file with the government of Hawaii who don't have LiDAR software downloaded to their desktop. So if they can just show them the visualization as soon as they're done flying it, there's a huge ROI for that. And we think there are a lot of these surveyors now that are going to transition over to drone services because of how just easy it is to go fly a drone.
So why not just focus on that? Why cast such a wide net? That was an earlier question, right? Like, if you're seeing the signals and seems the ROI, what are you afraid of? Just go in and just make that happen.
So
Is
we
it
are
like a small market, or what's your worry?
So I would maybe push back a little bit on that because I don't think it is actually differentiated between a drone surveyor or a construction surveyor. They're all small businesses, and tech does not really serve that segment of the market, and they don't have the money to build it in-house. And right now, what everyone really needs is just a way to deliver data really fast. Now, we are starting to build vertical tools, and what I didn't show in the product is we've already released 2 in-app features for drone surveyors, and that's ground classification and digital elevation modeling and contour lines. Now, these will be priced as in-app services that's charged based on usage. So in the short term, that will help us drive revenue with that market, but we want to focus, primarily on a data platform, add in the vertical tools where it makes sense, and then, if we see construction, for example, starting to ask us for a lot of features, we can put that into our roadmap, but be smart about it.
If I'm a drone surveyor, construction company, how do I think about the cost of this? Is it an expense to me of something that I'm doing? It offsets labor? Is it something I charge through to an end customer? Like, what does that model look like?
Yeah, for the surveyors, it's definitely the latter. Before, when the software was really expensive and processing would take a lot of time, that cost would get passed on to the end customer as just basically part of the overall quote. We're offering it super cheap. Right now, we're just charging it for storage, so it's $20, $50, $100 a month for, to basically cast a wide net, because not only do we want to capture the service providers, we want to capture the folks that they were providing that services to. And by making it really accessible, we're hoping to really start to generate a lot of user volume on the platform. But historically, though, that cost is passed on to the end user, and I think for us, we can just give them a much better margin.
Who will be the end user that you're talking about now?
Well, so the end users could be like the military, it could be ExxonMobil, it could be General Motors, it could be a utilities company that has hundreds of miles of pipeline that they need to survey, and they don't want to send a crew out there. So it's really about the future digital transformation is going towards reality capture, and the industries that are starting to realize this are primarily right now in construction and real asset owners, because they see the utility of how fast you can get a 3D model onto the cloud and then be able to share that out to your team and make decisions off of that. But down the road, we think you can be very creative with this. Law enforcement, insurance, mining, there's a lot of industries that can use 3D reality capture.
Down the road, that's how you can become a data platform, is by having more end users like that.
That's right.
Beyond the surveyor.
Right. We think the surveyors are our channel partners into a lot of these industries, because they're the ones being contracted out. But yeah, down the road, it's mostly.
But those users, for them, is very specific. This particular site, this particular building, and so forth. So it's not much of a platform play. It's just more of a tool.
That's 100% right. The surveyors do have focus. So some surveyors might be really good at scanning railways, or other surveyors might be really good at flying utility lines, given you need to fly through the trees. So they are segmented kind of within that industry already. But for us, like, everyone just needs a platform to share 3D right now.
The SMB market has historically been expensive to access, and the ACVs seem relatively low. Are there natural channels or allies that can help you get to it, whether it's a platform or a drone company or whatever it may be?
So I think what we've realized is that this community is actually very tight-knit. Everyone's kind of looking for an edge, but at the same time, they're also looking to help each other out. So there's a lot of word of mouth going on right now in Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups where people are sharing best practices in terms of like, how do you share 3D data? Like what kind of drones are you using? And the cool thing about us is before people were basically posting photos on those platforms, on those networks, community groups, and now they're posting a Stitch3D link, which takes them right to our viewer. It's super easy to sign up, and we're hoping that that will help generate a lot of user activity and user growth for us just through a simple PLG playbook. And the cool thing about SMBs is that if you just look at the construction industry alone, 98% of the firms in that industry are SMBs. There's only a few large primes that they're all servicing, but we think that's an undertapped market that we can go out and help.
Okay, give it up for Stitch 3D. That concludes the finals of the Startup Battlefield. Let me just quickly tell you what's going to happen next. The judges are going to be following backstage where they're going to choose a winner. You, on the other hand, should be going to the builder stage if you are so inclined to learn about the open source dilemma. You could also go to the AI stage where we're going to be talking about AI ethics, and then be back here at the Disrupt stage. You should be back here at the Disrupt stage at 3:15 p.m. to hear from the CEO of Perplexity and then from Colin Kaepernick. After Colin Kaepernick, right after that, just stay in your seats. We're going to be announcing the winner of the Startup Battlefield. Before we do any of that, though, let's have one final round of applause for our Startup Battlefield judges.